Today is a good day for crypto. Pretty much everything is going up, money is flowing into the market, but one token is doing better than the rest, and that's Conflux, CFX. The question is why? Let's have a look at the data most people aren't considering. Let's try to figure out how much higher this price can go. Now, this is not the first video on Conflux on this channel. I published the first video 882 days ago. And the video actually outperformed the average video. The average video is here in gray, and that was a particular Conflux video. So there was a lot of interest in the token at the time. Let's have a look at follow-up videos. Another outperformer, then here another outperformer, then a video published 2 years ago roughly that performed pretty much according to average, and then the most recent video went slightly above average. And so that then begs the question. The price of Conflux pretty much doubled in the last month. We are now at 14.5 cents. Will this momentum continue? Conflux is not just another random token on the Ethereum chain or on the Solana chain. Conflux is its own blockchain. Thus, we can have a look at how much adoption is there actually, how much capital is flowing into the ecosystem, what's the adoption of the decentralized exchanges and decentralized applications in general on the chain. Here is one answer to those questions. This is the total value locked, or the capital, on the Conflux chain over time. This chart starts in October of 2021. And while we had a spike in adoption in April of 2022 after the launch of an incentive program, that afterwards died down quite a bit. Currently, we don't see that much more growth. Now, some of that volatility is caused by the CFX token going up and down. So this is total value locked in CFX. Yes, there might be a bit of growth in the last 1.5 years roughly, but that growth clearly does not outpace the price decline long term. Here are a few more charts coming directly from Conflux Scan. This is the hash rate, so there is some mining happening and the miners are not exiting. Here's the number of transactions over time. This chart starts in 2020. There are a few bursts of activity every now and then, but those tend to die down after a while. Here's the number of token transfers, also a very similar chart. Here's the number of daily active accounts. This starts in 2022. So really, the adoption metrics don't look too great. So why is the price suddenly rallying? What is causing that demand? Who is buying here, and how much longer could this rally last? There is one positive development, and that's the number of CFX tokens getting staked over time. As the staking amount goes up, the number of circulating tokens gets restricted, potentially putting some upward pressure on the price, right? It's all about demand and supply. And if the supply gets locked up away, any additional demand will push up the price. That's the idea. The issue is that it's not just the number of staked Conflux that's going up, it's also the number of Conflux in general being in circulation that's growing very aggressively. Or should I rather say that grew very aggressively. Conflux has hit its maximum supply in October of last year. So roughly for a bit under a year now, we don't see any more token inflation. Yet we do see more Conflux getting staked. So this is a positive development in the last few months. Now, whenever we buy an altcoin, we should expect an outperformance over Bitcoin or over Ethereum, because an altcoin is always more risky, it has more volatility, and that additional risk should get compensated. If we don't see outperformance of our small asset versus the leaders, then it doesn't make sense to take on that risk. So let's have a look at a relative valuation chart of Conflux relative to Ethereum, the direct competitor. That's this chart over here. And it's not really a surprise that CFX underperformed Ethereum over the long term, again because of the expanding supply. This is an underperformance of almost 95%, even after the recent rally. Still, the circulating supply didn't expand anymore since October of 2024. So that's over here. Yet we still saw the price declining versus Ethereum. And that's by 50%, potentially because the negative momentum continues to carry on for a while. But if now more and more Conflux gets staked, maybe we finally see a turnaround. Right now, this rally that we're talking about, this 40% increase versus Ethereum, or this green bubble over here. It's not necessarily caused by a lot of retail investors suddenly all buying at once. It's short-term leverage that's entering the market, but that leverage might prevail for a while. Most of trading volume does not happen anymore on the spot market for Conflux. On the spot market in the last 24 hours, we saw 35 million worth of trading volume on MEXC. But on the perpetual futures market, we saw 163 million worth of trading volume. So much more. In other words, the price discovery now happens on the perpetual futures, not anymore on the spot market. Now let's have a look at the perp market in more detail. What you're seeing here is the funding rate. It's positive most of the time. That means that the longs have to pay the shorts in order to get more Conflux price exposure. Most perpetual futures traders on rising prices of Conflux, despite the long-term underperformance. Again, that probably has something to do with the asset not being inflationary anymore. There is a strong connection between the spot price and the open interest. So how many bets are currently on the price versus where is the spot price going? If there's more speculation on the price is going up. As the leverage declines, the price is going down. We are going up slightly recently in leverage again, but it's nowhere near what we have seen in the past. So there is quite a lot of more room to grow. Yes, there are some liquidations among the shorts, but there aren't too many shorts in Conflux to begin with, right? The funding rate is positive. My impression is that this rally could potentially last a bit longer because this is definitely not a short squeeze. There aren't too many people betting on falling prices, and the tokenomics are okay. Of course, the underlying project doesn't have too much adoption, so it's not necessarily a project to hold over many, many years. But right now, the momentum is positive and leverage is expanding, pushing up the price. I'm not getting tired to mention this. This is the performance of the smaller altcoins in the last year. Pretty much everything went down, while Bitcoin performed very well. Here, just as a reminder, right? Bitcoin in the last year doubled in price. How many of the smaller and more risky altcoins were able to compensate that risk, to actually outperform Bitcoin? This is 100 tokens here on the screen. We've got this outperformer over here. We've got this outperformer over here. All the rest underperformed Bitcoin in the last year. This is 100 assets, so 98 out of 100 assets did worse than Bitcoin. Now there are two potential ways to deal with this. We could either just become Bitcoin maximalists. We just buy Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum and Solana, that's about it, and we forget about all of those other altcoins. But there's also a second way, and that is to take advantage of this mispricing. In the last 3.5 years, the market cap of the altcoins underperformed Bitcoin by 77%. And the reality is even worse than what this chart here implies, because again, this is a comparison of market caps. The Bitcoin market cap versus the market cap of the altcoins. But when we invest into an altcoin, we don't get the performance of the market cap. We get the performance of the price, and there can be a big difference. Usually there is a big difference. This is WorldCoin. This is the market cap of WorldCoin over time. And this is actually not that far away from the all-time high. But compare this to the price development of WorldCoin during the same time. This is very far away from the all-time high. And this is in the end what the retail investor is getting. Why is there this discrepancy? It's because of the tokenomics, right? It's more and more tokens that hit the market. It's the insiders that are cashing out. It's the early investors, the VCs that are cashing out. It's the team that's cashing out. So the teams get more and more tokens allocated towards their wallet, right? They get vesting unlocks, and then those unlocks get sold. So this is the WorldCoin supply over time, right? It moved from 500 million to currently 3.6 billion, more than a 7x in supply. That's what's causing this massive difference. That's why investing in the smaller altcoins is such a bad idea long term. That's why 98% of the altcoins did worse than Bitcoin in the last year. And this is a structural problem of the altcoin market, right? Everybody can launch an altcoin. Everybody can set up any kind of vesting unlock. The supply can grow however it wants. There's no laws around this. There's no regulation around this. And so of course, the average retail investor gets milked over time. The altcoin market needs at least around 500 million, potentially more than that, maybe 600 million in US dollar inflows every single week in order to keep the prices just stable, right? This is the unlocks across the tracked tokens on this website. Without the demand coming into the altcoin market at that rate, we continue to see this kind of development because again, there's just constant sell pressure happening. And so let's say our thesis is that this structure will not change, right? That the VCs will continue to dump on the retail investor, that the insiders will continue to cash out, that most small altcoins will continue to do worse than Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. We could just stay away from the altcoin market as a whole, or we could try to make money from that. And that's what I'm personally doing. I try to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm trading in this way already for more than 4 years. And what we're seeing over here in black, that's my performance that I made compared to if I had just dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin. So dollar cost averaging is in light gray, and the black line, that's what I made. And this is just monthly data out of my personal Excel sheet. It's close to 4 years of data now. So the TLDR is that I bet on relative valuations. So I bet on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana going up, and I bet on all of those crappy small altcoins to go down, relatively speaking. I do 2 positions at the same time. Long, one thing, short, one thing. So in the end, the position is delta neutral. It's not impacted by the overall market that much. I used to do this with borrowing and lending platforms like Aave and Venus Finance. Now, recently, in the last 2.5 months, I moved this to perpetual futures. And that experiment is going very well. So here's the development over time. I started with 40K in balance and that moved to 60K. So 50% of return in roughly 2.5 months. And there wasn't too much volatility along the way while making those gains. I am sharing my own trades as well. So that example of WorldCoin, right? I actually made money from that. So I posted how I was betting on falling prices of WorldCoin, how the tokenomics of WorldCoin aren't that great, and doing a relative valuation bet might make a lot of sense. And so that was when the price was over here, and of course the rest is history. WorldCoin relative to Ethereum went down by 40%. And if you then have smart leverage, right? Leverage that is limited in risk because of the use of stop losses, etc., we can make a lot of gains. So this is then when the community copy traded that particular position. Yeah, I always like these kinds of comments, right? Premium has already paid for itself, etc. But the community does not just copy trade me, right? There's all kinds of opportunities, and those opportunities are shared in the different chats as well. And so there are 2 ways to go about this, right? Either you just learn it yourself, you do the active trading, you figure out what kind of altcoins are incredibly inflationary in nature, which kind of altcoins tend to go down versus Bitcoin the fastest, then exchange the ideas with the community and open up the positions yourself. So that's the best approach if you don't yet have that much capital, but you do have some time. So there are 2 essential videos for that. There is this one here, using perpetual futures on Hyperliquid to bet on relative valuations. And there's this video over here, risk management with relative valuation bets on Hyperliquid. So that is 2 tutorial videos among a database of all kinds of exclusive content. And so that's the do-it-yourself approach, right? That's currently $125 per month. And if you don't like premium, just message me within the first week and I'll refund you 100%, no questions asked. But if you're among the people that have a lot of capital, but not that much more time, that maybe have to focus on a high-paying job or on a business, and simply just want to allocate towards that strategy, then you can also just automatically copy trade me. This is still somewhat experimental, right? We just started this 2.5 months ago, but that's reserved to the people that subscribe to the annual membership, where, by the way, you also get savings of $250 per year. You can start out with monthly and then upgrade to yearly later, or if you don't want to learn from the very beginning, just start out with yearly, that's fine too. You will get all the instructions on how to deposit to the capital pool, and then all the trades that I make will automatically reflect towards your capital base as well. Of course, I don't have the guarantee that we continue to make money, but in general, I do believe that the odds are on our side. Again, we make money when the altcoins continue to do worse than Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana. And I do believe that's a structural problem with the market. There's constant sell pressure across the board, and some assets are worse than others. And that's where the real outperformance is, right? It's not in the common strategies trying to find the next 100x altcoin, right? This is how everybody gets burned. This is how everybody loses their funds. Please don't make that mistake. Please do something different to the masses, right? If you do the same things as the masses do, then you get the same return as everybody else. And again, returns are very much concentrated towards just a few players in the market. the vast majority of people loses, especially trying to find the next 10 or 100x meme coin. A link to Premium should pop up directly over here on the screen. Just click on that. It will lead you directly to the website. If it's your very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in Premium. Cheers.